Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
Let's talk a little football here this morning. Interesting piece from Jason Wilde, who has covered the Packers for years upon years upon years. And he's got a piece up, channel3000.com, talking about Zach Tom. And kind of an interesting comment from Adam Stenovich a couple weeks ago. And I won't read the whole thing from Jason Wilde. But he opens it up by saying, at first it seemed as if Adam Stenovich might have misspoken. Then the Packers offensive coordinator made it clear that he had not. Stenovich was discussing the team's offensive line last week and emphasizing the importance of competition. We've always heard the best five, right? The best five will play. Stenovich said, we're going to have a lot of competition there at both tackle positions with trying to find who our best five guys are. Now, at that first blush, for me right away, I was like, okay, yeah, just left tackle there. I didn't think anything of it. And I still kind of don't think anything of it. But when followed up about both tackle positions, Stenovich said, however it shakes out, tackle, right tackle, obviously right guard, there's a lot of good competition. The guys we've added, plus the guys getting older and getting more experience, is going to be really interesting to see how it all shakes out. As Jason Wilde noted, now, if you'd like to dismiss Stenovich's choice of words as merely rhetoric about how everyone has to compete for their spots, notice the two positions he did not mention. Left guard, where the starter will be Aaron Banks after he signed a 4-year, $77 million deal, and center, where Elton Jenkins will be moving to. Thus, as Jason says, there's no reading between the lines. Not only is Walker fighting to keep his job against Morgan, but starting right guard Sean Ryan will also have competition for his spot, and so will Tom, who might have to fend off rookie second-round pick Anthony Belton to retain his starting gig. All three of those incumbents, it's worth noting, are 2022 draft picks. Sean Ryan, a third-rounder, Zach Tom, a fourth-rounder, and Rasheed Walker, a seventh-rounder, all entering their final year of the contracts. Lucas Butkus, who is the offensive line coach, also saying in this room it's always about competition. You know that. That stems from our head coach, from our offensive coordinator. The harder that they work, the better the room is going to be. And the more depth that we're going to have come fall. They're going to have to come to work every day because you never know. This is the NFL, right? It happens every single day. And he also said about Tom that Zach will be the first one to tell you. I think that he wasn't happy with his season last year. But that's just who he is. We're never comfortable. We're always hungry. We always want to get better. Now, for what it's worth, Pro Football Focus still graded him as the sixth best offensive lineman last year. If you are a believer in Pro Football Focus grades, I know not everybody is. Everybody's not a believer in all the analytics and the grades and the math and all that sort of stuff. For what it's worth, Pro Football Focus also gave him an overall grade of 85.8, a run blocking grade of 87.8, and a pass blocking grade of 81, all personal bests. And he also finished third among right tackles in the AP's All-Pro balloting. So, and Tom, after season 2, I think said that I think it was a mixed bag, a lot of good, some bad. I think I played better this year than I did last year, but I still think there were moments where I could have been better, and that just comes with the NFL. If you make a mistake, you learn from it and get better. I'm going to be honest, I don't think there's really going to be any competition. I don't. And I'm not disagreeing with Jason's article or knocking it by any means. I understand the premises of it all. I don't think there's a competition amongst them. Is it noteworthy that they didn't mention left guard or center? Honestly, I don't. Because I mean, you bring in Aaron Banks on a big contract deal, of course it's going to be a starter. You're locked in at starter, okay? You sign a guy for a 4-year, $77 million deal. You're locked in as a starter. And how many times they've already mentioned that Elgton Jenkins is going to play center. That he's moving over to center. They've mentioned that how many times. So I don't take much from the fact that they didn't mention those two because those are obvious ones. Now, I guess in the same breath, then they're going to be like, well, wasn't right tackle obvious too? But I think you look at it, they want to try Morgan at tackle, and they're going to try him at left tackle. They drafted Anthony Belton as a tackle as well. He could play interior guard, but he was a second-round pick, a fairly high pick. So I understand where Stenovich is coming from, talking about the 5 best will play and kind of throwing in both tackle positions there. But we also know that Zach Tom is pretty versatile, right? I mean, we know he's played all across the offensive line. He's played guard. He's played tackle. He's played center. I just think he fits that narrative of like, hey, he's going to be a starter for crying out loud. I don't think there's any question about it. He's going to be a starter. In all likelihood, 9 times out of 10, 99%, he's probably going to be the starting right tackle for crying out loud. But he just fits the mold of like, hey, 5 best to play. He is one of the 5 best. Maybe he could play left tackle. Maybe he could play right guard over there. Maybe that's where it's going to be best suited. Maybe it's Morgan and Tom's the right guard and Belton comes in at right tackle. I think that's what Stenovich is trying to kind of like showcase, like, hey, our offensive line could actually be this, where maybe Belton's really good and we got to find a way to get him in there. And maybe that way is right tackle. And then we're going to put Tom there. I think that's what he's trying to insinuate. I don't think that's what's going to happen, though. Zach Tom is going to be a starter. Zach Tom is going to be a top 5 starter on this team. There's no question about it. And, again, while I understand the premises of the piece, I don't necessarily think it's just typical coach speak to motivate Zach Tom either. Zach Tom's already got the motivation to go out there and ball so he can win a huge payday. And Zach Tom would rather play tackle. He already mentioned it last year. Because why? Tackles make more money than guards. I mean, he made the comment last year about, getting tackle money, about, his agent might not like him playing guard or center or anything like that because it's all about the moolah. Zach Tom will be playing right tackle this year. So I don't really buy it as a coach speak or anything like that to motivate Zach Tom. I just think it's the company line, essentially, from Steno. 5 best will play. You might as well print the shirts. 5 best will play. How many times are we going to hear that in training camp and preseason from LaFleur and that? And it just fits that. It so happens that Zach Tom can play every single spot on the offensive line. So, again, not knocking the piece, not disagreeing with it fully, but I don't think there's anything there. I don't think there's really any smoke. I personally believe it's much ado about nothing. Zach Tom is going to be the starter. Zach Tom's going to get a big contract. Still think Green Bay's going to try to work on re-signing him. We'll see how aggressive they are because, they did draft Anthony Belton. They did draft Jordan Morgan last year. Maybe they're trying to protect themselves because they've got this salary cap situation that's coming up for next year that they're going to have to make some tough decisions on. So we'll see. But Zach Tom is going to be a starter, and Zach Tom is going to be the starting right tackle. Unless Anthony, the one bit of this, unless Anthony Belton just comes in as a rookie and absolutely just dominates, and it's clear that he is just going to be an absolute dominant right tackle right away from the get-go, then it's like, okay, where can we put Zach Tom in? Because he's going to play. Is it at guard? Is it at left tackle? If Morgan's not playing up there, it's just he provides versatility. And I think they're just possibly leaving that door open in case a guy like Belton just goes in and dominates right tackle. That's all it is for me. Of course, Aaron Banks is going to be guaranteed a spot. They're not giving him a huge contract and asking him to come compete. Elgton Jenkins is going to be the center. They've already said that multiple times. Much ado about not a whole lot. in my opinion.